recording.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It is a special school board meeting, Monday, June 28th, 2021. It is 6:05 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order. First item of business is to take roll call. We'll start with Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Ms. Buck.
Here.
Mr. Derricks will be absent this evening. Ms. Ostendorf.
Here.
Ms. Tower.
Here.
Ms. Tift.
Here.
And the chair is here. So we have 6 board members present. And we'll go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Anna will read our mission this evening.
The mission of the Red Wing Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students as they realize their full potential and become respectful, responsible, and productive citizens.
Thank you. The meeting agenda this evening just has 2 items on it. We'll discuss the budget for 21-22, and then we will go into a closed session where we can have a conversation about labor negotiations. And because it's a special meeting, we cannot change or add anything to our agenda, so that's it. So we will begin with the budget.
All right, good evening, everyone. Let me get situated here. We are approving tonight the revised or the adopted budget for fiscal year 21-22, which starts on Thursday. You all had in your packet the preliminary budget. This does include the 2.45% increase in state aid for fiscal 22 that it is in the proposed House E12 education bill. Unfortunately, as of tonight, that has not yet passed. It has passed the House. It is sitting in the Senate right now waiting for a vote as of this afternoon. We'll see where that goes. We're taking a little bit of a risk, but it was the compromise bill, so chances are it will pass. This will take $119,000 out of our unassigned fund balance, bringing it to 10.8%. Food service fund will be basically break even. Community ed about $58,000, and the rest of the funds are pretty much break even. The rest of this packet is kind of for your information, how things have changed over the years in the different funds. If you scroll all the way to the back of the packet, on pages 23 and 24 or 24 and 25 of the PDF, you can see the change in fund balance, what we're projecting to happen for this fiscal year if we stay on budget, and then what we're projecting fund balances are for fiscal 22. Some more comparisons by a reserve account, and then projected ADMs. The 2.45% brought us an additional $450,000 for this school year. Are there any questions?
I did have a couple, but now I have to find where they were again, because as I was kind of reading through some of these things. So going through the different, in the PDF, like page, 2 through, I think, like 5 or 6, where you have the different funds. I was just wondering if you could talk about where there's the biggest differences in those budgeted. Like, for example, with food service, the State aid and grants dropped from 104,500 to 2,500. You know, when it's a big jump like that, if you could kind of talk about why some of those are, if there's anything big there. Those were just kind of the things that jumped out to me that I just wasn't sure.
Typically
were.
for larger items, I do put comments on the bottom. So the food service fund, for example, we're moving to the seamless summer option for next year.
Okay.
And a lot of that is federal aid instead of state aid.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So it's just,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just moving things around a little
Okay.
bit.
And so that budgeted difference, our revised budget versus the preliminary budget, and the difference was 575, 413. Page 2, very top.
Page 2, very top. Yes,
So
so that is tax levy dollars, yep.
Yep, so that means we're short almost 600,000, is that right? So how did we make up for that then? In this
That
budget?
is part of why we are making 2.2 million in budget cuts.
Okay, so that is
The
part of
decline
that.
there is because of our declining enrollment.
Okay, so that's already figured in, and,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
because I was like, oh, we're short another almost
Yes,
600, that would be a lot.
Before we made the cuts, we projected everything out, and the tax levy is something that is very solid,
Right,
because we do that in December.
right, okay, all right, good. So that's already figured out, so really the preliminary budget is all balanced, is what you're saying?
Yes, it is, we're taking 119,000 out of fund balance, so it's not completely balanced, we need to use fund balance, but
We're
it's less.
119,
Yes.
that's better than we thought.
So, yes. Mhm.
All right, and that leaves our fund balance at, what did you say?
About 10%, or,
Oh.
well, $3.9 million.
Oh, okay, I can be okay with that. Okay. Any other questions for Jackie, or Kirsten has one, right?
Yeah, I just have a comment to make, just a reminder that when the legislature says 2.45% for this coming year, that's 2.45% of one component of the revenue budget.
Right.
So the other components, I think, had no changes or very insignificant changes. So our overall revenue for the general fund is not increasing by 2.545%, it's less than that.
Do you have an idea of what that is?
$450,000.
Okay. All right, Holly?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we did just meet tonight, and we all had a ton of, not we all, Jim and I and Nikki had questions about all of the information that Jackie put together for us, which was fantastic, and there's a lot to absorb. So I asked how much we should go into it in this meeting, and we can look at this again at a later date as the full board, maybe at a workshop or something, just so we have an idea of what our fund balance is now, what would be projected further, because there's some big changes, but in terms of tonight, we wanted to get this piece done. And like we know, there's no vote yet, so it's not even secure, and we may have to go back and look at it if the vote doesn't go through. One of the things Jackie said is that we do have enough in reserves right now in case the state doesn't pass this. So Jackie, if you could speak a little bit more to that, I think that would be helpful. And then we can always go through more of this because there's a lot of information, and I think it's good for everybody to know it, especially with a 10% reserve right now. In a couple years, it doesn't look that way at all.
Right. And Holly, the we can weather this was more on a state shutdown in regards to cash flow. We have enough cash flow in reserve that if the state shuts down and we're going to not have state aid payments for a while, we can weather that. We have enough liquid cash right now that losing $400,000 or $500,000 in cash flow in July and hopefully making it up in August, we will be fine.
Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had quite a discussion about the budget and the fact that the House has overwhelmingly passed a education bill on Saturday. it's sitting in the Senate, which I think Jackie or somebody else has said it was negotiated, so we seem to be on the right track. The email that Representative Haley sent out over the weekend shows education bill being considered Saturday would be, Red Wing would be 525,000 for 2022 and 874 in 2023. That's probably not exactly the number, the pot that Superintendent was talking about. I think overall increases there. Now, this is just a proposal, so it's nothing that we can put we can't put down paper saying checks in the mail, all that. So I think, as we all talked about 2 weeks ago, or last week, whenever it was, that we have to pass something tonight, and then we'll be working through the finance committee, bringing forward the changes to the board as we go into this fiscal year starting July 1st. So. And one last thing, the 119,000 out of fund balance is something that we have to be aware of, because the chair of the finance committee, Ms. Tower, mentioned that is, our fund balance, it should be like a rainy day fund, so to speak. It shouldn't be used to run operations, salaries, benefits, because those things just grow. So as we go forward, we'll have that down the road discussion as Holly had stated earlier. So through that committee.
This is exactly why we have a rainy day fund,
Well,
to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the projection for our students was for the enrollment to stay the same next year as it was this past year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it goes up 6, but that's just because
Sure.
of grade level
Yeah.
progression.
Okay.
and that will include online learning through River Bluff, whatever it's called over there.
5 Rivers Online. Yeah.
Five Rivers?
So if
Thank you.
our enrollment does go back up, we could see more revenue then. Yeah. Okay. I'm just still trying to figure out the timelines of when kids are counted and when the checks are cut and all of that stuff.
One last thing, if I may. This, the budget, it's gotta be prepared like this. I get it. I'm thinking for everybody to understand it better, maybe a 1 or 2 page, I don't know, synopsis, instead of having to go through each page here to try to figure out what we're doing, I think you kind of hit it on the nail a little bit on this one back here, page 23. As we're going forward, I think we need, it will just help, I think, this board going forward, trying to understand, get our minds and hands around how the dollars flow, and making sure that we're using it to our best advantage that we could.
Nikki's in the queue.
Pardon?
Nikki.
I don't know if this is the time to ask this question or not. But like, I see the budget, and I'm designed to think of a way to get to the root of the problem and then build up. And like the thing that keeps circling around is the declining in students. And so is it possible, or could it be possible that maybe we could do a little outreach to our community to see just kind of like what their student needs are, and that way we can kind of because I know different areas are different. They have different needs and different wants, and is this anything that we can maybe just kind of get a feel for our community and what their students need, and we can kind of maybe cater to a broader, diverse group just based on our children's needs in our community? And my thing is like, then because we're open enrollment, and then everybody else is, look what's going on in Redmond, oh my gosh, I think I want my kid to go there. That type of question, can I ask?
Who wants to take on that?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, Nikki. We definitely want to keep hearing from community about what they want for their kids and what we can do to address it. We did do an open enrollment survey last fall, I believe. So we analyzed some information there as far as why some students are choosing other districts. Of course, that was taken during COVID, so many things were in flux at that time. But we're here to serve our students, and if we serve them well, then more kids will come here, there's no doubt. So I've always taken the tack that the most important thing is to put a high quality program in place and then make sure that people have the talking points so they can remind people why it's great to go to school here.
Well, I would just add to that, that this is something that we've talked about and want to be committed to long-term. We will always want to know why our students are leaving and what would draw them back. I think that Five Rivers Online is a direct result of wanting to keep our students here, because many people through the pandemic have learned that online learning is a better fit for their family. And so that's one way that we can do that. But I think ongoing outreach to the students that we've lost, but we've got to also market what we have. And so you're right on, Nikki. I think that that's something that we need to continue to strive for, because we're not getting a lot of influx of people moving into Red Wing. It's just we need to keep the kids that we have here. So I think it's a collective effort. Does that answer your question, Nikki?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Holly.
Yeah, I love what Nikki is saying. And we've talked about it a dozen times, but I feel like now the cloud has kind of been lifted away from the COVID emergency and stress, that we can be, in part, being reactive and proactive about safety and health. We can also be proactive about what kids love about Red Wing, why they loved graduating from here, why they found it was a good experience, in part with why they don't like it, but also why do families love it. And like Carson said, and build on that. So I think your question, Nikki, is always relevant and always something that we should be looking to. And I know we've talked about communications in terms of how do we spread the message about the district? How do we get feedback from people without it necessarily being a survey that we, have to go through 1,000 channels to put out? So I think that we should always be keeping that at the forefront. And I was just gonna move to approve the fiscal year 2022 budget as presented. I make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Anna. Any other discussion? All right, we will start our roll call vote this evening with Anna Ostendorf.
Aye.
Ms. Tower.
Aye.
Ms. Tipp.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Ms. Buck.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So the budget passes 6-0. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, and I look forward to hopefully being able to nail down and have something solidified as soon as we possibly can. Hopefully this will be it, right? Yeah. All right, so now we will move into a closed session. I believe that we need a motion to move into a closed session.
Are we coming back to this meeting, or are we gonna call this meeting adjourn and then go and call a meeting, go to a special closed meeting? So I'll make a motion to adjourn the special meeting of the Red Wing School Board on June 28th, 2021.
Okay. Jim has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Holly, and we will start the roll call vote with Ms. Tower.
Aye.
Ms. Tift.
Aye.
Mr. Bryant.
Aye.
Ms. Buck.
Aye.
Ms. Ostendorf.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We are adjourned of our special meeting at 6:25.
Lisa just sent out another request for the closed session on your email, so.
Okay, so